It's time to play ball. Welcome to the podcast with no limits. Whether it be sports, current events, or random thoughts, this is the place to step in and stay a while. Your host is a proud alumnus of Rio Hondo Prep, a former minor league baseball umpire, and a man with strong opinions. Welcome to the Get Home Safe podcast and your host, Matt Hersema.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Get Home Safe. It is Monday, May 3rd, 2021. Thank you so much for joining us today, however you're listening to the Get Home Safe podcast, or if you're watching here on our YouTube channel. Greatly appreciate the support as always. Plenty of things to get to today. The episode, of course, coming out a little later on Mondays, not quite that 5 a.m. release time that we do occasionally for our early risers, or, typically it's just, hey, when you're off on Sundays, there's other things to do. When that's your only day out, I'm not complaining, of course, just letting you guys know, usually Mondays, the episode, will come out a little later than the early release time. But anyway, lots to talk about today. Just me, of course, just me Mondays. And we're going to be chatting about a few different things regarding the world of sports. Kind of a busy weekend with some football, some college football playoffs. But definitely the big news from last week spilling into the weekend was the NFL draft, which began on Thursday night and went well into Saturday. So some really, really great moments, we'll say, in the draft. Thursday night's first round was incredible. A lot of drama, some exciting moments as well. And some late picks really that jumped off the page, I think, as well. Kind of some head scratching moments for your team out there, whoever your team is. I think you are probably either really happy or really sad, or, anyway, whatever your emotions are with the NFL draft. I think a lot of people find hope in late April, thinking, okay, at least some moves are sending the team in the right direction. I don't know, but a lot of fun moments. We're also going to talk a little bit today about some baseball things. There's been some ejections, some plays that I've gotten some messages about from people that have said, hey, what's the rule on this? How could they make this call and this and that? So I'll try to cover some of that as well. What else do I want to get to? The Kentucky Derby was over the weekend. I don't know who out there is a big horse racing fan, but the Kentucky Derby, the most exciting 2 minutes in sports, as they say. It was cool to see. Not quite a full crowd there down in Louisville, but still 50,000+ people. Pretty awesome to see the sights and sounds back, and back in the first Saturday of May, as it typically is, not pushed into Labor Day weekend like it was this last year. I believe it was Labor Day weekend. But anyway, I want to talk a little bit about Rio Hondo Prep baseball briefly, and they're kind of how they're doing. What else are we going to cover here? Well, we're just going to kind of roll with the punches today. A few things, housekeeping. Keep in mind, today is Monday. I will be recording with Bill Barnes after I actually record this episode. So look for our Facebook Live video if you are hearing this later in the day or whenever. That's kind of a busy day for the podcast. I got this episode immediately following, right around 9 a.m. or so, give or take. We're going to have our Facebook Live video with Bill Barnes, kind of the appetizer show that reminds you guys that he's coming on, that we are going to be recording our Wednesday episode immediately after that Facebook Live video. So if you have any questions or things you want Bill to talk about, want me to talk about, that's the friendly reminder. So you will get a fill today of the Get Home Safe podcast. You got this episode, you get a Facebook Live video about 15-20 minutes after this, or I should say on Monday morning as well. That is kind of the buildup for our Wednesday show. So lots to do today. Additionally, on Sunday night, I put out a Facebook Live video. I have a Rams fan page. I don't want to bore everybody on Facebook with all of my Rams, fanhood and everything. And plus, there's a lot of haters out there who would chime in and have a few words to say. But anyway, I have a little group of Rams fan friends, and anyone out there interested in joining the group, message me and I'll add you to it. I think there's like 10, 15 people, but I gave my analysis of the LA Rams draft picks. And that was a lot of fun to just kind of go into that. I think it was a 20-minute video. And what my plan is, now that I kind of have the Facebook Live thing down, I am going to, throughout the NFL season, after games on Sundays or whenever the game is, Monday nights, Thursday nights, to do a Facebook Live, kind of a reaction to the game. That way fans who are fans of the Rams can chime in and say what they got to say, kind of an instant venting, we'll say, eventing process for us Rams fans who are used to suffering quite a bit. Okay, so that's just some housekeeping. If you want to be added to that group as a Rams fan, let me know. Rams fans only, so don't sneak in there and start bashing LA's first professional team. Just throwing that out there. Let me take a breath here. I need a breather with this coffee. It's interesting, the fine line between coffee and water when you're doing the podcast early on in the morning. You need both, but coffee comes first. Okay, so we got the NFL Network on here for maybe some news and some stories there. I got some news here on my phone that we'll get to, and we are going to bounce around with a couple different sports topics. Let me first, if you will forgive me, let me first go here with a situation that occurred. No, well, we'll save that. We'll save that for later. Okay, so to the NFL draft. Very exciting on Thursday night. I did a pre-NFL draft show on Facebook Live. I also did a post-NFL draft Facebook Live. If you're interested in getting my instant thoughts or my predictions, a few things that did come true that I did find very interesting were the draft really began at the number 3 pick with Trey Lance going to the 49ers, and everyone in the 49ers organization and the fans out there, they were very curious what direction the Niners were going to go. Some people really wanted them to go after Mac Jones, the Alabama quarterback. Well, they ended up going with the North Dakota State quarterback, Trey Lance, who hasn't played a ton recently. I think he played one game this year, and but a very talented guy. Now, the question in San Francisco is, does he play right away? Keep in mind, they got that quarterback who led him to the Super Bowl in Jimmy Garoppolo, so you really can't go wrong, I guess, if you sit Trey Lance behind Jimmy G, because think about it, Jimmy G usually ends up getting hurt. That's really the knock on him, is that he can't stay healthy. So I think you start Jimmy Garoppolo, you don't move him, and at some point in the season, Trey Lance is going to probably come in there because Jimmy G's hurt. So those are my thoughts. I don't think you can move Jimmy Garoppolo, at least right now. It's interesting because you got to ask yourself, who needs a quarterback? Who wants a quarterback? There was talk about New England being the place for him to return to, but keep in mind, Cam Newton is still there, and New England drafted Mac Jones, the Alabama quarterback. So that appears to be their quarterback of the future. And so I don't know. I feel like almost in this situation, Jimmy Garoppolo is like left without a chair when the music stops. Like Trey Lance is to be determined if he can play at the NFL level. He's a very athletic guy. He's seems to be they're all athletic. Let's not say that quarterbacks aren't athletic. They are. And even guys like Tom Brady, who his NFL draft photo from 1999 is still one of the funniest ones that pops up. It should say seven-time Super Bowl champion underneath that photo every year. The total dad bod at 21 years old or whatever it was. It's always a funny picture to see. So yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't know where he could land if the Niners were going to make a move. And if you're the 49ers, I don't think you move him. You want him to, what is this? I got an alarm going off here. Wow. You want Jimmy Garoppolo to, hopefully this pushes him a little bit. Keep in mind, he was in the Super Bowl. He had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter over Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs 2 years ago. And played well. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo is a good quarterback. Does he have his moments where he's a little shady? Yeah, absolutely. But who doesn't out there? And I think Trey Lance is definitely not ready to jump into the NFL. I think it's a good situation. We used to do this with quarterbacks. I shouldn't say we. I don't run the show, but they used to have quarterbacks come in and sit behind a guy. Let him learn. Let him learn, and not just learn, but not have pressure on him. And if he does have to get thrown in, it's because of an injury, or you got to lead, get some experience that way. The quarterback position is so different than everywhere else. I make no mistake about it. The quarterback position is the toughest position in all of sports. It's always your fault if you lose, and all the credit to you if you win. And that's just the nature of the position. That's why so much of it is based on maturity and being a good teammate and preparation. There's so much that goes into the position. So I think Jimmy Garoppolo stays in San Francisco, plays is the starter, and if they start struggling, which I don't think they will, I think San Francisco will return to being a competitor in that division. They competed last year in the division, even though they had Garoppolo out. They had Nate Mullins and backups here and there. And I've always said that Kyle Shanahan is probably the best coach in that division, as much as it hurts me to say it. I love my Rams and Sean McVay, but Kyle Shanahan does quite a bit with the talent he gets one way or another. So I think this is a good situation for the 49ers. You knew when they moved up to that 3 pick that they were going to take a quarterback, and they did. There was 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round. The top 15, Mac Jones went right at 15. Some other good fits. Justin Fields going to Chicago. Some people love this. Some people don't like it. I actually do like it. I think you got to move on from Mitch Trubisky. He's clearly not the guy. You passed on Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson back whenever that draft was. It took Mitchell Trubisky ahead of those guys. So clearly he's not the guy. I think he'll be a backup quarterback, probably the second half of his career here. But I like what Chicago did there in moving up. It's a good move. It gives Bears a little bit of hope, a little bit of I don't know, a little bit of juice, and we'll see what happens there. So I think that's a really good fit for Justin Fields. Of the 5 quarterbacks, Zach Wilson to the Jets, Trevor Lawrence to the Jags, and Trey Lance to the 49ers, and Mac Jones to the Patriots. Everyone will say Trevor Lawrence to the Jags, and yeah, we'll see. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a good career there, and that division is kind of back and forth all the time anyway. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Jags, Urban Meyer, and this whole adjustment to the NFL. I think they'll be okay. I don't see them as a playoff team or anything anytime soon. They're still the Jacksonville Jaguars. But I love the Mac Jones fit in New England. I said this on my Facebook Live after the draft. I think I think he's underrated. I really do. He's not flashy. He put up great numbers at Alabama his senior year, right? He sat behind Tua before that. I mean, he's been in that program a long time. He's got a lot of experience, not as many starts maybe as some of these other guys, as Trevor Lawrence, but not many guys do start, 3 years in a row or whatever it was, 2.5 maybe. So I think Mac Jones to the Patriots is a really good fit. And watch out, the Patriots might, after a year off here, they might get things back to the way they were. Maybe not this next year, but very, very soon. I think Mac Jones, an Alabama quarterback, good pedigree, really good fit there in New England. I think Cam Newton will be clipboard Cam rather sooner than later, being the backup, and I'm sure that he'll have a great attitude for that. Of course, I am kidding. I don't love Zach Wilson to the Jets. I think there's a little bit of hype around him. Now, what I will say about him, I found this rather ridiculous. I saw this was posted by Outkick. Apparently, people always go into, which they should, somewhat with these quarterbacks, especially, they go into their social media and their past and everything and see kind of what what type of guys they were and everything. But apparently, it's not just what you comment on social media. Now it's what you like. And I get it. If you like something completely uh, wrong or something that's like, whoa, what are you even interested in that stuff for? Fine. But now, what Zach Wilson's recent crime was? The good kid from Utah, from BYU. His crime, his latest, this is very worrisome, is that he liked a few things on social media. He liked some posts and tweets that were favorable to our former president, Donald Trump. Whoa, what a monster. How dare he? So this is my thing with the whole social media mob and all this and that, is that it's not so much they hunt down what you say, what you think, and want to punish you for it. It's that they tell you what you can't even basically what social media says is, and some of this woke movement is that you're not even allowed an opinion. You're not allowed a different opinion. Okay. I don't agree with some of my friends and some of the things they like or people they like, but they're allowed to have that opinion. I don't like, okay, that's who you like, whatever. But now there's this movement where you're not even allowed. No, how dare you? You will fall into line. You will not like a former president. How dare you? It's unbelievable, man. Oh, need another hit here. Anyway, he posted some things that he, like when Tom Brady he had his MAGA hat in his locker. Like, how could he have that? It's like, we are all entitled to our political opinions. And like, people forget that. Like, if you just have, that's my biggest issue with all these things that are being censored right now. People on social media, only one type of person, type of group is being censored. That should be troubling to people out there, even people who are liberal side of things. Like, you don't find it troubling that people get censored? People are getting censored. I mean, there's got to be censorship is a tricky issue, I know, but freedom of speech is something that I believe is an amendment somewhere. It's one of those early ones. First, it's a first, I believe. Yeah. Uh, so it's really, really funny that players have to basically denounce anything that the woke mob and the left does not agree with and stand for. So I don't like that. Now that said, Zach Wilson, I think he's going to have a tough time in New York on the football side of things. Not just their media over there, but the Jets are in no position to really be successful quite yet. I'm curious what Robert Saleh does as a head coach there. Amazing defensive coordinator. And I think if he builds that team from the defense kind of up, I think maybe they could be a little successful. Well, it's hard to be less successful than they've been in recent years. 2-14 last year. One of those wins over my LA Rams that I was very upset about. But the Jets have some work to do, a long road ahead. But I wish Robert Saleh the best there, because he's got quite a tall task ahead. Anyway, Zach Wilson, of the five, I don't love that marriage. Time will tell, but we'll see. Trey Lance, I kind of touched on. Good situation there. Justin Fields probably will sit behind Trubisky early on, but as soon as the Boo Birds get out in Chicago, as we know they will, I'm sure that we will see Justin Fields at some point here in the future. But Mac Jones to the Patriots, by far my favorite pick. Another pick that I loved for the Steelers was Najee Harris, the running back from Alabama, going in the late first round, one of the only running backs taken in the NFL draft, or first round of the draft. But you know what? An amazing story that with Najee Harris, the Alabama running back. I think I posted it on social media. Najee Harris at one point grew up in a homeless shelter. I think it was actually up in Richmond, California. Yeah, up north, up in the Bay Area. And you know what he did is, you see all these draft parties, right? You see draft party at guys' houses. They have their whole family over. There's usually like pizza. There's some like sponsorship that you can tell, okay, this guy's going to be a Gatorade spokesman or whatever. The family's there. Sometimes it's low key. It's really special to see when guys are drafted, and big celebration, big, uh, reaction, emotion. I love that stuff. But Najee Harris, who was selected by Pittsburgh in the first round, he had his draft party at the homeless shelter that he used to live at up in Richmond, California. And I thought that was so cool. They had pizza there, a bunch of kids there. And it was so telling that, like, man, no matter how things are down for you, that you can achieve your goals. You can achieve, uh, you can get out of a rough situation, man. And I thought it was such a professional move for Najee Harris to go back, have that party there at a place that, had a very memorable meaning to him. Maybe a negative, memorable moment too, living in a homeless shelter. That couldn't have been easy. But that's where he and his parents, four siblings, live there. Najee Harris, he brought pizza, chicken. He decked the shelter out with football decorations, cupcakes, and goodie bags. So kind of a party there for not just him and his family, but for the people who were living there. And I thought that was just something that was so awesome. Congrats to Najee Harris, who I think is the best running back in the draft, getting picked up by the Steelers. Very good fit for him as well. And I think he's going to do really good things there in Pittsburgh. Give Big Ben a little less stress, run the ball a little bit, Pittsburgh, as you got a great tradition. Franco Harris, Jerome Bettis. I mean, come on, get back to running the football, not having Big Ben sling it around 60 times before his arm falls off. So Najee Harris, the 24th pick in the first round. And you've seen what he did at Alabama, a great career as a running back out there. But man, I thought that was the story of the draft. Really, you hear these special moments, and to me, that was the story of the draft indeed. Let me bounce around here. Another thing, one of the best picks in the draft. Speaking of quarterbacks, I thought I saw this on Friday afternoon in the second round, the very end of the second round, was that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers picked up Kyle Trask from Florida. I watched a lot of Kyle Trask last year. He had a great tight end there in Kyle Pitts. And he went fourth overall to the Falcons. I think Pitts is Pitts is probably the best overall player in the draft, honestly. Really good fit in Atlanta. Give Matt Ryan a good weapon there, weapon he hasn't had since Tony Gonzalez. Kyle Pitts, curious to see where his career goes. But Kyle Trask going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Not only are you staying very local, so there's a little buzz there, but I loved all the things Kyle Trask did last year at Florida. I kept watching games thinking, man, this guy might win the Heisman. Man, this guy, I could see him transition into the NFL okay. And then to go to Tampa Bay, to go to a place where you're going to sit behind, I'm sure he doesn't think by any means he's going to compete for the starting job over Tom Brady, but he knows Tom Brady's not going to play forever. I mean, we don't know how much longer he's going to play, but not forever. So a great situation there for Kyle Trask. Go, stay local, get behind the greatest quarterback of all time, polish up your skills, learn and learn and learn. And, maybe when Tom Brady's eventually done, maybe you're the guy in waiting. I don't know. I think it's a wonderful fit. I really, really do. That jumped off the page to me of all the draft picks out there. I thought that one was the most intriguing. Some other teams took quarterbacks. Houston took their very first pick. They're a mess, man. I think it was a third round pick. And their very first pick, Sam Mills from Stanford. Sam Mills, I think that's his name. They took him from Stanford. So that really sends a message to Deshaun Watson. Not Sam Mills. That's the great linebacker from Carolina, who I think passed away after a great career with the Carolina Panthers, Sam Mills. Anyway, I'll get the name here in a second. But the Texans drafting a quarterback and not, trading up and getting anybody really of note of a big name or anything. Now we say that we never know, right? Where a guy's David Mills, Sam Mills, David Mills from Stanford. We never know what guy's gonna, end up having a great career. That's part of the fun with all of this NFL stuff. Tom Brady again, pick 199, right, in the sixth round. But a couple quarterbacks actually there in the third round. Kellen Mond of Texas A&M going to Minnesota. Hey, sit behind Kirk Cousins or maybe push Kirk Cousins a little bit. I think that's a really good thing. Very talented guy, Kellen Mond. And Davis Mills, the Stanford quarterback. Not a ton of starts, but I guess the quarterback of the future for Houston Texans, because who knows what's going to happen to Deshaun Watson and his legal troubles, and not just that, but the bashing of heads there. So very interesting to see what will happen there. And we got to get to the Aaron Rodgers conversation here. Aaron Rodgers, I don't know if it was a lot of these things that pop up in the news. You got to wonder, like, okay, why has that happened today, right? And round one of the NFL draft, it gets released that Aaron Rodgers is unhappy and that he doesn't want to return to the Packers in 2021. Well, keep in mind, it was a year ago where the Packers drafted Jordan Love from Utah State, first round pick, and Aaron wasn't expecting that. Now, I don't have sympathy for Aaron Rodgers by any means, because this is a business. And you also got to keep in mind, when Aaron Rodgers was drafted, he fell late in the first round back in his draft. And what happened? He ended up falling to the Green Bay Packers, who had a Hall of Fame quarterback at the time in Brett Favre. And Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre, kept waiting and waiting and waiting. And then with Brett Favre leaving, not leaving, coming back, I mean, there was drama there. But for Aaron Rodgers to not quite understand all that, I just think he's acting kind of like a diva here, like very needy, very. I just hate when guys are kind of they always want to give these excuses like, oh, no one cares about me. It's like you're the highest paid player on the team. You've been worshipped for years. Yes, you get a lot of blame when things don't go your way, but that's part of playing quarterback, Aaron. That's part of playing quarterback. And the Packers are a pretty well-run organization. There's a lot of bad organizations in the NFL. I don't think the grass is always greener. So he's it feels like he's throwing this like tantrum towards the end of his career here. And I don't like it. It's a bad look on him. I expect stuff like this from guys like, I don't know, Cam Newton, Baker Mayfield, maybe Johnny Manziel. He washed out, as we all knew he would. But someone like Aaron Rodgers, Hall of Famer, hands down, I just think it's a very bad look on him. And it's almost like, it was kind of like the Deshaun Watson situation, before the law allegations and everything, the law issues. It's like they just made you the highest paid player on the team for $160 million deal and a few months prior. And now all of a sudden you're unhappy and, I can't play here anymore, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's unbelievable. I can't think of another place, another business where you're treated as, the top class citizen, the very top of the food chain, and you're unhappy. Oh, this is, it's the LeBron syndrome. I hate saying it, but he was, nothing was ever good enough. I need to go here. I need to go play with this team, play with that team, blah, blah, blah. But Aaron Rodgers is a bad look on you. He's kind of doesn't really quite demanded a trade, but there's something about him and the general manager there that is not sitting well. And I mean, they were in the NFC Championship game the past 2 years. And I know they got blown out by the Niners and then lost to the Bucks, got upset last year. But I mean, come on, you're in the NFC Championship game. Aaron's got a few more years left. He's 38, I think, 37 maybe. I hate this. The coddled athlete, the professional athlete who makes tons of money. And it's not to say you can't have opinions. It's not to say you can't want the best situation for you. But what is wrong here? Now, look, I did hear this. Clay Travis said they did some research and found that like the past 10 years, the Packers have not drafted one offensive weapon in the first round. It's been all defense. Well, you can't win with Aaron. It's either I don't have enough weapons on offense or our defense gives up too much. Or it's like, come on, Aaron. You just play football, man. Just play football. It says a lot about the guy, I think, and not a good situation. all in all. Okay, where was I? Let's talk, speaking of football, let's talk a little bit about the college football playoffs that are going on right now. We had some football in April, and now we're going to have some more playoff football in the month of May. But there were 4 playoff games over the weekend, kind of under the radar because of the NFL draft and everything. But man, 4 football games. We're down to the final 4 of college football for Division 1AA, also known as FCS Football Championship Subdivision. And if you watched the draft at all, you saw that there were a lot of guys drafted at various levels, right? Very, very many different types of levels, and a lot of guys drafted from this FCS Division 1AA. The huge news from the weekend, though, is that North Dakota State, the perennial power, the team that has won 8 of the last 9 national championships in FCS, they have been knocked out. They were knocked out by James Madison over the weekend. No, I'm sorry, I messed that up. Knocked out by Sam Houston over the weekend, 24-20. And yes, you heard it right. I said it. North Dakota State has won 8 of the last 9 national championships. They defeated James Madison back in 2019 for the national championship it was 2020, January of 2020, right before our lives changed forever. But it was the 2019 season. So 8 of the last 9 national championships go to North Dakota State. Pretty amazing run there. As good as Alabama is, I mean, that's second to none. And that's why you see so many guys taken from North Dakota State in the draft, like Trey Lance, like Carson Wentz, because of the great run that they have had. But anyway, 24-20, Sam Houston takes down the Bison. And the Bison had kind of a rough year, 7-3, right? These shortened seasons. But Sam Houston improves to 8-0 and will advance to the semifinals where they will play James Madison. James Madison defeated North Dakota. So a tough weekend, I should say, for the state of North Dakota, losing not only their best team in all of their sports, really, North Dakota State, and the great history they have, but also losing North Dakota, dropping a 34-21 defeat to James Madison. So Sam Houston and James Madison facing off on Saturday at 11:30 on ABC, 11:30 Pacific time. Should be a fun game if you're looking for some football to watch, man. Hey, Saturday, May 8th, there'll be a doubleheader. And I'll tell you about the other side of the bracket right now. It was South Dakota State who beat Southern Illinois 31-26. So at least the Dakotas getting, I know it's 2 different states, but the South Dakota State getting in there with a victory to reach the semifinals. South Dakota State improves to 7-1. And South Dakota State will be playing Delaware, who defeated Jacksonville State 20-14 over the weekend. Jacksonville State is 10-3, played a lot of games, a lot more games than everybody else, and should be a very, very interesting Final Four here in college football. And so those games to echo 9 a.m. Delaware against South Dakota State this upcoming Saturday on ESPN, and at 11:30 James Madison against Sam Houston, 11:30 on ABC. Football doubleheader there, a little bit of an overlap. I'm not sure why they're doing that, but hey, some football to watch if you're in the mood after all of the NFL draft coverage this past weekend. I'm sure there's some good talent out there. Probably guys who got drafted aren't playing in these games, I gotta imagine. But who knows? Maybe they are. I don't know the whole thing. But the whole May Madness, can we call it that? Football Final Four here. I think it's pretty cool, and there'll be a championship game, I think 2 weeks after that on a Sunday down in Frisco, Texas. But some football to watch over the weekend if you're a little hungry for some football. I know I am. I can always use some football in my life. But anyway, that is what occurred over the weekend. I got to tell you, the football playoff, again, this is a 16-team playoff, right? It's just even. It's just 16 teams. There's talk about the FBS Division 1A football playoff expanding. It's 4 teams now. I don't know that I really consider that a playoff. It's like a +1 thing. It's just okay. You four teams. Like I don't. I'd like to see there be some type of structure, even if it's like okay, the top 8 ranked team, and then 4 at large or something like that. But they're I like the conference winners getting in automatically, winning your conference because the bulk of your schedule is in conference. And for schools like Notre Dame or BYU teams that don't have a conference, well, you better have one heck of a regular season and schedule some teams accordingly. So I think there's ways to make this happen. I would love to see at least 12 teams. Uh, the top 4 teams, much like now that you select the top 4, they rest the first week, and the second eight teams, they play each other. 4 winners obviously play then the four team playoff. So it'd only be for the top 4 teams in the country. It would only be a three game playoff really, rather than the current 2-game setup. And for those teams that are in the 12 or in that 5 to 12 range, you would have to win. What would that be? You'd have to win 4 games to be a national champion, but more than likely, you'd end up dropping the first or second game anyway, just because college football is kind of very top heavy. So those are my thoughts. I would love to see a 16 team playoff, but I don't think that will happen. I would be, I would settle for 8, but I think the realistic number is 12, so that you get teams maybe that, yeah, I know no one wants to see the Sun Belt champion play against, the at large Big 12 team or whatever. But I don't have all these teams in Division One if you can't, if they don't have any shot of winning a national championship or of competing at the highest level. That's my thoughts. So I would like to see uh, college football expand in that regard. Okay, we're rolling right along here on the Monday morning Get Home Safe podcast. I do want to read to you guys an article that I'm going to consider our Suds with Studs segment today. Take a break from sports and honor some heroes that unfortunately were killed recently. There's this attack on police these days, and a lot of it is just verbal things, but this was a literal attack on police, unfortunately, down in North Carolina, and incredibly sad. But I don't want us to forget that we do have law enforcement out there that does suffer every day, and hopefully not loss of life, but they go through some very difficult jobs, very difficult things they have to go through every single day. And I want to read to you guys now an article. This is about 2 North Carolina deputies who were killed, 3 others dead after an ambush during a welfare check led to a 13-hour standoff. So I will read to you from this article now for our Suds with Studs segment. 2 North Carolina sheriff's deputies were killed and 3 other people found dead in what authorities are calling an ambush that turned into a 13-hour standoff between a shooter and law enforcement. 2 deputies have died from their injuries suffered during the standoff that took place at the home near Boone, located about 116 miles northwest of Charlotte. Sheriff Len Hageman confirmed Thursday morning. This was last week. And this article is from Fox News. 3 civilians, including the suspected shooter, also died, bringing the death toll to 5 people. Sheriff Hageman said that it was fair to say that deputies were ambushed at the home when they arrived to conduct a welfare check. K-9 deputy Logan Fox died at the scene. Sheriff's Department also confirmed in a statement to Fox News on Thursday. Sergeant Chris Ward died after being flown to Johnson City Medical Center for treatment. Hageman said that another law enforcement member, a Boone police officer who participated in an initial rescue attempt, was shot in the head, but his protective helmet saved him from injury. Quote, "Our hearts are broken for our law enforcement partners at the Watauga County Sheriff's Office. There are no words to explain the sorrow that the FBI family feels for you," the FBI Charlotte field office said in a statement Thursday morning. "We continue to be thankful for the men and women who put themselves in harm's way to protect our communities." The sheriff's office declined to identify the civilians by name at this time. The individual suspected of killing the 2 officers is also suspected of killing 2 civilians in the residence, according to the agency. The deceased civilians are a stepfather, mother, and her son. It's unclear who was the suspected shooter. What began as a welfare check devolved into violence at 9:44 a.m. Wednesday when Watauga County Sheriff's deputies arrived at a home in the 500 block of Hardeman Circle in Boone. The homeowner's employer had called to report that the homeowner had not reported to work that morning and was not answering the phone. Deputies entered the house after discovering all vehicles belonging to the residents were on the property. The sheriff's office said, upon entering the home, two Watauga County sheriff's deputies were shot and had gunshot wounds from an unknown individual within the residence. The standoff between the armed individual and law enforcement ended before 11 p.m. Wednesday. This is an incredibly tragic situation, and our thoughts and prayers are with everyone involved, as well as their families and our community, Sheriff Hageman said. I greatly appreciate the tremendous support we are receiving from law enforcement agencies across the region and the state. Oh, boy. Flags were lowered to half-mast, half-staff outside the Watauga County Sheriff's Office, and a memorial of candles, flowers, and photos was growing outside the building. Very sad scene in North Carolina. And yes, I echo that. Our thoughts and prayers do go out to not just the law enforcement, but the other victims in this horrible tragedy. And it goes to show, guys, that, when police show up, or in this case, sheriff's deputies, they show up to a situation, you don't always know where it's going to lead. And I think that's why most law enforcement proceeds with caution. They try to be prepared for anything. But unfortunately, things like this happen where you don't know what is going to happen, and unfortunately, to Logan Fox, excuse me, and Chris Ward, the two deputies who were killed in this situation. My thoughts and prayers to you, and you're both heroes in my book, and to you and the victims. I feel so sad for you guys, and for your families, and just wanted to say your names this morning here on the Get Home Safe podcast, because if it were at all possible, you are some gentlemen I would love to sit down and have a beer with, and not just by the first round, but every single round. So God bless you guys for your service, making the state of North Carolina, and that region of Carolina a safer place. And unfortunately, not a whole lot of safety going on that day back there on Wednesday in the standoff, but hopefully justice prevails in this situation. And Suds with Studs are not always a happy moment here on the podcast, but we do want to honor people that have paved the way for us, and some people that pay the ultimate sacrifice. So definitely thinking of those deputies and their families down in North Carolina for our weekly Monday segment, Suds with Studs. Okay, let's talk a little bit of baseball right now. And first, of course, I want to get to my alma mater, Rio Hondo Prep. Haven't covered them a whole lot of very in depth in recent weeks, but I am keeping an eye on the Cares baseball season. It's a young season. They've played 8 games now. They're 4-4. They're in league play, and it's the month of May now. So the last game of the season will be May 28th. So kind of down the home stretch here. Got to pick it up a little bit. And they were in some pretty tough games in recent weeks. They played Pasadena Poly twice this last week. They're big rivals. Of course, you guys heard all that stuff about the big football game I promoted for weeks and months, and it finally happened at the Rose Bowl. We don't need to go back into that, but Pasadena Poly and Rio played each other twice over the week. First game was on Tuesday at Rio Hondo Prep, and Rio Hondo, they couldn't quite put enough offense together. They lost 3-2. They couldn't quite climb back. They didn't give up a ton of runs. Got a good pitching performance from both sides, really. For Pasadena Poly, David Matthias homered on scoring 2 runs. So that was kind of the big blow for Poly. Let's see here. Jack Van Cleve took the loss. Van Cleve, obviously the best pitcher Rio Hondo has. He allowed 3 hits on 3 runs over 6 innings, striking out 7. And the Cares couldn't quite rack up enough runs. and get any across the board there. Well, I got a couple across the board. Jonathan Guerrero and Ryan McCullough each racked up multiple hits. McCullough and Guerrero each managed 2 hits. And let's see, Rio Hondo didn't commit an error in the field. So that is pretty impressive. That kept him in the game, I'm sure. Some good fielding. But the Cares dropped the game last Tuesday to Pauley, 3-2. I tuned in a little bit on Facebook Live to kind of see how they were doing, and I couldn't quite commit to watching, every pitch, but I was like, man, come on, boys, get one across, find a way, bunt, get hit by a pitch, do whatever you got to do. But the Cares pitched well, played good defense, but as is often the case in those Pasadena Poly games, it comes down to a run or two. And the Cares then played Rio on set. Cares played Poly, on Saturday again. Again, with baseball, a lot of time you play league teams twice in the same week so that, the same pitcher can't dominate every time you guys play. And nice article actually written from 210 Sports regarding the game. But Rio Hondo, the bottom line is Rio with a big inning in the 6th inning, I believe it was. Let me confirm all that. But Rio with a big 5-run inning to take the lead on Pasadena Poly. And then Poly did not go quietly. They ended up scoring, let's see, what was it? 3 runs in the bottom of the 7th. I'll read to you now the article from 210 Prep Sports. Great article here by who wrote this? I always want to give them a little credit. I don't see the title. Okay. Well, either way, we'll read it anyway. An 8-7 victory for Rio Hondo, who held on to win. Bennett Underwood gave Rio Hondo Prep 6 solid innings and left with an 8-4 lead in Saturday's Prep League showdown at undefeated in league Pasadena Poly. The Panthers would get 3 runs in the bottom of the 7th and had the tying run on first base with 2 outs, but Nathan Olivas was able to coax a fly ball to center that his brother Ryan Olivas snagged for the final out. RHB held on for an 8-7 victory. Underwood allowed 4 runs, 3 earned on 8 hits. He walked 1 and struck out 2. Nathan Olivas gave up 3 runs, 2 earned on 4 hits, but was able to close out the victory. Ethan Chan single, doubled, scored, and had an RBI for Poly. Jason Mayo single, doubled, and scored. And David Mathias singled and scored for Poly as well. Sam Howell walked, scored, and had an RBI. Jake Shafia had a RBI base hit, and Sean Asperger went 2 for 3 and scored and drove in 2 runs. Jake Sherwitz singled twice, scored, and had an RBI. Adam Arthur singled twice and scored. Sam Howell got the loss for the Panthers after allowing a pair of runs in the top of the 6th and 1 hit and 2 walks. Ryan Olivas singled twice, had 2 RBI, and scored a pair of runs. Ryan McCullough, the big slugger for the Cares, went 3 for 4 with a double and 2 runs scored, and Jack Van Cleve singled and scored. So up next, Rio will play Providence. They'll host Providence on Tuesday and then play them again on Wednesday. So the Cares with 5 runs in the 6th inning to defeat Poly. Poly had a 4-3 lead. Rio scores 5 in the 6th. And then Poly ends up scoring 3 in the bottom of the 7th, had the tying run on base, couldn't get the job done. So Bennett Underwood takes the win. Sam Howell the loss. Nathan Olivas, with the save. Rio improves to 5-4 and 3-2 in league play. Poly improves to 6-2 overall and 5-1. So a big win for Rio Hondo over the Panthers. A gritty performance, a tough win, 2 very close games over the weekend. As I mentioned, Rio will be playing Providence this week on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then, the month, only a few short weeks after that. So hopefully Rio can get in the playoffs and make a run at defending that baseball title that they won back in 2019. So congrats to the Cares on taking down the Poly Panthers. Always a good day, a good time if the Cares take down their rivals. All right, where else are we today? Okay, we got to talk some more baseball. I've been getting a lot of comments regarding some of the plays that guys are seeing as far as umpiring goes, some of the rulings, some of the questionable ejections and things. I shouldn't say questionable ejection, just questionable calls. We'll say from what I've seen. I mean, that most ejections are justified because guys are losing their mind or not doing what they should be doing. But yeah, there has been some tough calls made, specifically in the Brewers game last week with an obstruction call that awarded a batter first base. Now, before I get to that, I did not love the call. It was a ground ball up the first baseline. Pitcher picked the ball up, flips it to the first baseman. A pitcher's momentum carries him kind of in the path of the runner. At the time, the ball's like in the glove, and then the runner kind of veers around the pitcher, and obstruction is called. Now, I didn't love the call. I thought maybe there's something there. I could see why it was called, but I thought the play was, by the time there was potential obstruction, that I mean, it was the play was pretty much over. The ball was in the first baseman's glove. But what people don't understand and what people are up in arms about is, yeah, it was a tough call. But to understand the rule is that even if the pitcher's momentum took him into the base path, even if the runner is out by 30 feet, you don't need contact either. If the runner gets the base path and it has nothing to do with the grass, nothing to do with the chalk line, the box there. That's not what that runner's lane is for. That's for a thrown ball. The base runner, the batter runner in this case, he establishes his baseline. He runs where he runs, and there's you got to be this, you got to be that. All the base running jurisdiction, there's many different rules. Like if you can go 3 feet to avoid a tag, right? You can veer off from that. Any farther, you're declared out of the baseline. You establish your baseline, and the batter runner in this case was running on the infield grass, and that was his baseline to first base. Now, the pitcher, after he flipped the ball, it's up to him to not get in the way of the runner and the batter runner. And the rule states that if the batter runner is obstructed anytime prior to first base, it could be near home plate. It could be near home plate, 80 feet from first base. If he is obstructed, there is no gray area. It's all black and white. If the batter runner is obstructed, he is awarded first base. The call that occurred in Milwaukee, or it was a Brewers game anyway, you could see the runner kind of stutter step and veer off. So yeah, there was potential obstruction hindrance, but I felt that the ball was in the first baseman's glove already. I felt that you can't really make the argument that it had no bearing on the play because, again, the rule states if there is obstruction that you're awarded first base. There's no you have to, judge if it mattered or not. No, if the batter runner is obstructed before first base, he gets first base. All right. Now you could argue then, well, that really wasn't obstruction. My point is I could see why it was called. There may have been a little hindrance, but I thought the play was pretty much over. That would be my sell, is that, hey, at the time there was something, the ball's in the glove, he's already out. So that is my stance on that. I know other people might disagree with that, but big thing there is that you do not need contact. You don't have to physically be in the guy's way. If you hinder or impede the base runner's opportunity, and you do not have the baseball, you can't have obstruction. If you have the ball in your hand, obviously different story. But if you don't have the baseball, if you don't have possession of the baseball, then you are not entitled to be in the runner's way. All right. I thought a very tough call, probably not, at least in my opinion, probably something you stay off of. But again, these guys are the best in the business, and they make mistakes because it's hard. It's hard seeing things at full speed. There was also a play Sunday night in the Phillies game where there was again, back to base running, and you could see the baseline by McCutchen. He's running from first to second. Second baseman gets a ground ball, runs forward in an attempt to tag McCutchen. Doesn't really give a great effort to tag him. Second base umpire it all came at him really quick. What he thought he saw probably was that McCutchen veered off. Again, if to avoid a tag 3 feet, if you veer off from your base path, which you establish 3 feet to avoid a tag, you're out of the baseline. Beyond that, I should say, you're declared out, and that's what the second base umpire declared. The play is not reviewable. I don't know if it will be reviewable in the near future or what the case is for that, but That was what was called. And was interesting is they did go to replay for the play, not on that, but to see the play at first base. And of course, Bryce Harper was the batter runner, and he was safe originally, but declared out. So a double play. You can make the argument the guy at second was called out and shouldn't have been, and the guy at first was called safe and shouldn't have been. But unfortunately, after it was all said and done, they were both declared out, and some very unhappy Philadelphia Phillies fans and players and coaches, and Joe Girardi not happy at all. Bryce Harper never happy. And my beef with Bryce Harper is this once again. That game was in the bottom of the seventh. I believe that it was the end of the seventh there after the 2 outs were recorded, right? And of course, Bryce Harper's pissed. He's furious. And, you could argue he has a right to be. But Bryce, the best player on your team, getting ejected in a tie game in late innings, you might be needed later on, right? And he's there on the top steps screaming and yelling. And you can say, well, how could you let him? Why don't you just ignore him and let him yell? He has a right to yell. Well, what you don't understand is that you can't just let guys. You can't let the teams just lose their mind. I mean, you got to keep law and order out there, even if mistakes are made. And the players know what they can and can't say. They know how to look innocent and still say things. I saw that a lot, right? Guys, over the weekend, a guy will say something to the plate umpire about a pitch and then turn to walk away and say something under his breath, or say something as he's walking away. So he looks innocent, right? And everyone, every time, oh, he's walking away. He should be able to say what he wants. I said this last year. I'll continue to say it. Fellas, you say something negative to your wife or girlfriend as you're walking away. Call her a bad name. And then you tell me how that goes. You tell me when you tell her, oh, I was walking away. I was walking away from you. Tell me how that goes. I doubt it goes very well. So umpires aren't being sensitive. Umpires aren't just having quick triggers. What kills me is you often don't hear what's said, right? We don't know what's said out there. You can kind of assume what's said. And if you do see an umpire react kind of quick, well, something magic was probably said. I think Aaron Boone literally said F you as he's walking out of the dugout on one. He got ejected real quick, and people are like, oh man, he must have said the magic words. But back to Bryce Harper. I mean, he always seems to get ejected, and it's always in a big situation late in a game. Lets his temper get the best of him. And I don't have any sympathy for the guy. He's a bad dude, and always stirring the pot up. I'm not saying guys aren't entitled to their opinions when umpires make mistakes or whatever, but it's just, you got to understand the bigger picture. Your team needs you. You can't just stand up there and scream at an umpire and just keep going and expect that, well, we missed the call, so you can yell all you want. No, at some point you got to say, okay, we got to move on. It's time to move on. Do you want to stay in the game or not? So Bryce Harper, I don't have any sympathy for. Sorry. And then of course, in the same game, there was late in the bottom of the ninth, a potential 3-run home run that was declared a home run, would have tied the game right late in the ninth inning, and go to replay, and it looks like he hits the very top of the fence, comes back, ends up being a double, and the Phillies lose. And so of course the Phillies were not happy with instant replay. But what kills me too is broadcasters. I know you got to be exciting and just, but sometimes you saw the ball hit something and come back. Maybe don't declare it and it's gone. Maybe you say something like, and there's the ball, it ricochets back. They're calling it a home run on the field. How about that? That to me is more reporting or broadcast. I'm no expert. I'm just this Ricky podcaster, but I just hate seeing a ball fly back on the field while broadcasters are saying it's a home run. It's a home run. And I know broadcasters, your heads are down multiple times during a broadcast. You don't always see everything that happens. You don't see the ejections that occur. But man, you got to have that feeling that something is coming. I can't, how many times Dave Roberts the other night gets ejected on a check swing. Angel Hernandez throws him out from first base because you can't argue balls and strikes, and that's balls and strikes. That's a swing. You can't argue that. So Roberts gets ejected. He goes running out to first base, and the announcers are like, well, I don't know if Dave's going to get ejected here. It's like he was clearly, even if you didn't see it, you can't be out there on a check swing. So do the math. Broadcasters, they got papers everywhere. They got a lot of things to do. I get it. But man, it's like not knowing. It'd be like not watching a play when a play is happening in between pitches and stuff. I get it. You're looking around other things, but that's like a play happening. You know that there is a beef or a batter arguing with an umpire. You know something is coming. You know it is. And then to be like shocked by it every time is just really funny to me. I don't know if you guys understand where I'm coming from, but hey, let's see. So yeah, that home run was overturned in Philadelphia. Very tough night for the Phillies. But you know what? I don't feel a whole lot of sympathy for them. Let's see other ejections. I'll get to a few more of these with Bill Barnes. The last thing I want to say about baseball, I talked on it a little bit last week. Guys, if you want to promote this, let the kids play, excitement and energy. And the problem with baseball is that it's showing guys up. We got pitchers out there celebrating, talking trash to hitters after they strike them out. This is not a good situation. All right. Stop with this new era of, I'm going to say it all season, because this always happens. You could say what you want about baseball players. I think they're a little sensitive too. And it's always a tough guy contest. I would have more respect for guys that go out there and actually throw punches than guys who just, go out there and it's always a chest up thing. And it's a talking, I'm tougher than you contest. All right. You could say baseball players are fragile and sensitive or whatever, but if you're going to do this over celebrating and, this is how the game is going to be played from here on out. No, it's been played a certain way forever. And people who have come before you, I mean, I think you should respect them as well. Show some respect, play it the right way. Stop showing guys up. I mean, where have we come in a society where think about when you're raising your kids and taking them to games. I mean, you wouldn't want your kids to be that way, would you? Now it's like promoting it to be popular, not have sportsmanship. Yeah, show guys up, big deal. It's exciting, it's fun. That's a problem, man. It's a problem in society, and I cannot stand it. And the thing is, you're gonna see more and more throwing situations. You're gonna see guys get thrown at because of this behavior, and then it's gonna be, baseball, you're so archaic and just you need to evolve, right? So I'm telling you, you can't have it both ways. If you're gonna have all this little league celebrating all the time, well, you're gonna get some big league fastballs in the ear. It's just part of the game. It's how it's gonna be. You can not like it all you want, but it's what's going to happen. So there was a throwing situation in the Cardinals game. Who was the other team? That was Cardinals Phillies again. Wouldn't you know it? Wonder why that is. Anyway, there was a throwing situation, and it was really funny to listen to the announcers talk about, one side, of course, they wouldn't hit him in that situation. And the other side, that was absolutely on purpose. And it's one thing I hate this year is that they're making the umpires come together to discuss if something was intentional or not. I think it looks absolutely awful. It takes away from like the power of the plate umpire, because in those moments, I mean, you're running the game. It's a plate umpire, whether you're a AAA guy or a 30-year big league crew chief, like that's your game. You have the best feel when you're the plate guy as to whether something is intentional or on purpose, or not intentional or on purpose. And so I just think it makes the umpires look indecisive when they have to gather the crew together to issue warnings or eject somebody, so that, I don't know, the plate umpire is not overreacting, I guess is their reasoning. Another brilliant, suggestion by MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred. I could not disagree with more. I think and so fans are asking, well, why are they doing this? It's like, well, they have to now. It's by rule. By whatever, the mechanics mandate of Major League Baseball. So I don't like it at all. It is what it is. I think we're really looking at a very potentially rough season as far as um, throwing situations, as far as bench clearing things. I think we're going to see more and more of that this year because there's this age, there's this push for this feel good new age of baseball, which is ridiculous. So anyway, those are my 2 cents. If you have any more ejection questions, by all means, rules questions, send them my way so I can talk with Bill Barnes about it. We may do that for our Wednesday show as well. But again, closecallsports.com. There's a YouTube channel. That's the website. There's a Facebook page. Great page to follow. They post all of the ejections that occur. And with ejections usually come interesting rulings, interesting plays. And those are some a great page to follow if you're a baseball fan. They're very good about citing rules, explaining why things are officiated, umpired a certain way that they are. And they'll say when the umpires make mistakes and things too, but a really good breakdown. They do a great job. So if you're a baseball fan and you want to learn something, follow that page, that website, that YouTube channel. Really, really is a great place. Not all ejections too. It's mostly ejections, but weird, strange plays that come up. They would answer a lot of your questions in like 5-minute videos. So give it a listen indeed. Okay, that's it for me today, guys. It's about 8:30 here on Monday morning. I appreciate you guys tuning in whenever you're listening to this podcast or watching it on YouTube. Appreciate the support. Appreciate the comments on Facebook, yes, and also on our YouTube channel. Getting a few comments on there. Our total plays have gone up, man, and Bill Barnes is a big part of that for the Wednesday show in promoting our episodes here. So look for the Facebook Live video today with me and Bill Barnes, and then obviously our episode on Wednesday that we will record later today. Busy day here at the podcast, but would not have it any other way to start up another week of shows. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. I hope you will join us again throughout the week. We have some great guests lined up. By the way, I continue to line up some guests. This Friday, real quick, I'll tell you about our guest. Mike Kearns is going to be on the podcast. He is the basketball officials assigner for the Foothill Citrus unit, an unit I was a part of for a long time, the Foothill Citrus Basketball Officials Association, talking about high school basketball, assigning the difficulties that is in a normal year on top of this year being the COVID year, playing spring basketball right now. He was gracious enough to sit down with me. We talked about Mike actually umpired college softball for quite a while at the Division I level. He ran track at the University of Kansas, then came home and played football at Cal Poly Pomona back when they had a team. So a long, fun conversation with Mike Kearns that you do not want to miss on Friday. If you're a sports fan or just a fan of hearing some funny stories and fun topics. So be sure to join us for that. That's kind of the lineup this week, and looking forward to putting them all out there for you guys here on the Get Home Safe podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media and YouTube and all our platforms, Twitter, Instagram. Continue to retweet us and share and share just all the above. Like, follow, subscribe. Always appreciate that. It helps the podcast continue to grow as we've come a long way here. 1 year and counting. Can't wait for what's ahead in the future. Remember, send in a voice message if you like. Look at the episode notes. There's some info down there on how to do that. But however you listen to or watch the podcast, guys, thank you so much. Another fun week ahead. Can't wait. May is here. May, the month of May, springtime, summer's almost here. I mean, let's do this. Let's keep rolling right along. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Get Home Safe podcast. Looking forward to hearing from you guys, just like you hear from us Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. But guys, as always, no matter what you're doing, whether you're out on the town or rounding third base, get home safe.